Welcome, friends. Today, I've been playing with the settings on my camera and I'm not sure they've worked. But also, we're going to be doing a review. Amazing. And that review is on Cuir Cannage by Dior. Fantastic. So, by now I have got an established technique for reviewing perfumes. I tell you what notes there are, I tell you what notes I get, and then I just generally talk about the fragrance. So let's have a little bit of the facts. Cuir Cannage came out in 2014. 8 years ago now. Yikes. How did that happen? Anyway, Demachy made it. Francois Demachy made it when he was the head perfumer at Dior. He'd been there for the best part of a decade by this point. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. And he'd got his technique down. He had established a pattern and a style at Dior, and this fits right in with that pattern and that style. I'll tell you how and I'll tell you why as we go on. So the notes. The top notes are ylang ylang, orange blossom, bergamot. The middle notes are leather, iris, jasmine, rose. And the base notes are leather, again, birch, juniper, tobacco, violet, and cade oil. Right, so I'm going to tell you what I get. Let's have a smell from the lid. Okay, straight away, what I get. Let's have a spray holder. Sprays on these things are massive. I'll tell you, I get hugely the ylang ylang, the orange blossom, straight away, both of those, but the leather, both of them, I think. I get the iris hugely, little bit of the jasmine, don't get the rose. Birch, a bit, no juniper, don't see any tobacco, a little bit of the violet, and I don't really get much of the cade oil. So I would say the big notes to me are the ylang ylang, orange blossom, iris, leather, a little bit of birch, and a little bit of jasmine. Now, I have a 250ml bottle of this, and I love these bottles. These bottles are great. The sprayers are massive. I think they look great. When you buy these, Dior try to tell you that it's Italian glass and that the glass is worth something when you finished it, but you should try go back, sell it back to them and see what they say. You will find out exactly how much it's worth, which is nothing. So I've got a 250ml bottle of this, and I've got to be honest, I've also got a 450ml bottle of this. That's 700 mils of Cuir Cannage. That's a lot of Cuir Cannage. That's a lot of anything when you've got this kind of collection, or any kind of collection. So how this happened was I bought a 450ml. I've got several of those huge bottles of Dior. I've got Fève de Russie, Leather Oud. I've got Patchouli Imperial. I've got Cuir Cannage, obviously, Bois d'Argent, and Ambre Nuit. I've also got 250ml of Eau Noir, which you can see hiding back there. So I like the line. I will tell you how. I've also got a 250ml of Cologne Imperial, which I've like rattled through, but I've had that for like 3 or 4 years now. So I've got like only half a bottle of that left. It was a 250ml as well. But I just lather myself in that stuff. You can do when you've got huge amounts of it. You can just reapply as much as you like. But I came into possession of more Cuir Cannage than less, because I bought the 450ml and I thought, well, that's me set for life. I don't need to worry about that anymore. Back that up. Well, backed it up. I didn't need to back it up when you've got that much, but I've got that much and I can just like rest and use it liberally, which I do. But then I was in the boutique one day and they told me that there was a bottle of this going for cheap, and I can't remember why. And I just pounced. I just thought, yeah, sod it, why not? You know what I mean? If I need to, I can always decant some and sell some if I want to, or I could sell it on as a partial. I really like it. There'll always be a demand for this because it's good stuff. So, on to the actual review. This is interesting because the story they tell you about it, right, is that it's De Russie with his mother's or his grandmother's handbag in the loft, when he was like clearing out the loft, and like he opened the handbag and he smelled everything. You could smell the iris and the old leather, and it hit him in the face. And that's like, this is the smell of his mother's handbag. It's like really old quality bag. Bollocks. That's not what this perfume is. This perfume is Dior's answer to this. Cuir De Russie by Chanel. This is not just their answer, it's not the homage, it's a pastiche, it's a copy, it is Dior's Cuir De Russie. It is the same materials as this is the EDT, so this is the Eau de Toilette, right? This is the same materials and the same, I want to say, build as the Eau de Toilette. Maybe not the Eau de Parfum, but the Eau de Toilette as Cuir De Russie. Maybe I'll do a comparison video one day, but I can tell you now, they're very similar. And this is what De Russie's good at. De Russie's very good at taking a composition that already exists and Diorifying it. I'm making that word up, but that's what it is. And it's good. It's good. It's good quality, right? Now, I bought this before I bought the Cuir De Russie Eau de Toilette. Is this a clone? Oy. I don't think it's a clone. Oh, but is it a clone? Maybe it is a clone. I don't know. It's tough to say. It's tough to say a house like Dior would clone something, but that is very, very close to what they've done. They have left you with a question to answer. Put it like that. It's a worthy question to ask. Is this a clone of Cuir De Russie Eau de Toilette in the Les Exclusives bottle? I've smelled other Cuir De Russie. Ramsey sent me an 80s vintage, the pre-barcode. Might have even been a 70s bottle, and it's very different to the one that comes in the Les Exclusives. So I'll review how it smells and then maybe go back to the Cuir De Russie, but it is very similar. On first blast, you get the ylang ylang and the orange blossom big time. The ylang ylang sticks around from the top to the mid. Maybe not all the way to the base. This is it's very linear. It's very, what you get at the top is what you get at the bottom. Maybe minus a couple of the top notes. The orange blossom sticks around all the way through. The ylang fades. It becomes, very quickly becomes a leather perfume, and a good leather perfume. The iris and the birch appear. The leather, the iris, and the birch work really well together. The jasmine gives it that sort of, not old world, but old feeling. It gives it age. So you can see why they say in the marketing and in the selling brief that Dimashi says it smells like his mother's handbag. Maybe his mother wore Cuir De Russie. You never know. She carried a bottle of that around in her purse. The birch and the iris are the big players in the mid. Even though the birch is a base note, it's there from maybe not the top, but certainly from the top of the middle. You know, it's not heavily birchy either. You know, the Ylang Ylang sticks about, as does the Orange Blossom, which give it this sticky sort of quality. You know, like Orange Blossom always gives me that feeling of, you know, when you spill orange juice on a counter or a bench top, and you leave it and the water evaporates and like the goo remains, and it's got that sort of. But imagine Orange Blossom's like got a floral sort of aspect of that smell, and you get this sort of orangey, almost ambery quality, but it's at the top. Imagine the orange without the fruit, more floral and with almost like a resinous aspect, because it is thick. It smells thick and gloopy. You might be wondering why I'm smelling the cap, and behave, and you will be right too, because I'm starting to wonder why I'm smelling the cap. Let's spray some in the air. There's a slight freshness which may come from the bergamot, but it doesn't identify itself as bergamot. It doesn't say I'm a bergamot note. It says in a vague sort of way that there's like a freshness there. And this is Dimashi to a T, right? He makes perfumes with huge broad strokes. You know, there's very little definition. You can use this as a criticism, or you could use it as a compliment, in that he makes perfumes that aren't complicated. They are eminently accessible. Cuir Cannage is so much more accessible than Cuir De Russie. It's untrue. I find it, as somebody who wears fragrances that are about 30 to 40 years out of date, right? I find it very difficult to wear Cuir Cannage, right? Now you may think that he's put a big dent in that Cuir Cannage, and you would be right, I have. But I have to force myself. With this, I can pick this up and just whack it on, right? With this is much more cerebral. This is more physical. This has more florals, and they're much more defined. Now, that might be because it's an eau de toilette. Oh, God, it's so similar. It's fucking scandalous, really. It's very... That's what Dimashi does. He has made Dior and its privés and its releases so much more accessible. It's taken the Chanel sort of, do I want to say ethos? No. I want to say, what do I want to say? It's taken the Chanel idea and the Chanel ideal and made it easy and not hard. And I'll tell you, I truly believe there's genius in simplicity, right? So it's a very good idea for him to do that. But I think one of the conversations that must happen at Dior is, how do we make ourselves more approachable than Chanel? I'm sure as a excuse me whilst I hydrate. I'm sure when you've been to a Chanel boutique, right, we've all had that when you walk towards it, you're like, oh Christ, I'm going to Chanel. And it's like, I want to smell Chanel, and I want to love Chanel, but Chanel's always got their arm out to stop you, and they've always got that sort of like turning of their face, like coy but in a cold way. Don't come too close. Don't get too near. I'm hurt. I'm damaged. And it comes across as being aloof, and it comes across as being reluctant. Whereas Dior's got its arms open. Dior's come to me, spend your money. You're welcome here. It's nice here. And I like that contrast between the two brands. I have got a lot of Chanel perfumes, but I've got more Dior's. And from a business point, I think that's exactly what De Russie was told to achieve, or was pointed towards achieving, and I think that is what he has achieved. He doesn't go for the intricate blending. All you have to do, this is a good way of putting it, all you have to do is smell the 2005 version of Dior Homme and the 2011, I think it was, when De Russie reformulated Dior Homme. The smell is similar, but only from like, oh God, how can I put it? He's taken out, imagine you've got a staircase with 100 steps, all right? That is Dior Homme 2005, right? That's Olivia Polge, who now works at Chanel. That's Chanel. There's 100 steps. Dior, their staircase has 50 steps, but it's the same height. And it goes to the same place, right? Chanel's is more intricate. It's more delicate. It's smaller in that there are more intricacies and there are more singular steps and things. But the Cuir Cannage and Dior's approach to perfume is broader and easier. It's a much broader church. It's much easier where it's easier to move between one part to the other. You know, there's less barriers there. There's less work that has to go into understanding a Dior perfume compared to a Chanel. And that's what Cuir Cannage is like compared to Cuir De Russie. They utilised their iris, the same iris that was in the Dior Homme until 2020. They utilised the leather, which is the same leather that's in Dior Homme Intense. But they've added birch to it. And it's not as it's nowhere near as intricate as you would think, but it's a lot easier to wear. The Cuir De Russie's fucking a nightmare to wear for me anyway. I can't just throw that on and just go out. I feel like, because there's a lot more florals in the heart and it's a lot more intricate, and this is a lot easier and it's less intricate and it's easier to throw on, and it still smells good, but it's not quite Cuir De Russie. I really like this fragrance. I really like Cuir Cannage. I reach for this often. It doesn't look like it because it's only down to there, but I've used a lot more of the 450 because I bought this second, but I'm obviously using it first because it's a spray and it's easier. I don't have to decant it. In conclusion, as a perfume, I really like this. And it's easy to like. And it's different, and it's unisex all the way. Anybody can wear this at any point. I wouldn't go hard in the summer. Maybe one spray. Probably would avoid it in the high heat, but the rest of the time it's an easy wear. It's an all year round perfume. Big ylang ylang, big orange blossom, big leather, big iris, big birch. The rest of the notes are just like window dressing. You're not really going to notice them. Easily accessible. Don't know if it's been reformulated. If it hasn't, then I imagine it's coming up for reformulation. I think it's been discontinued. As always, go for the bottles with the CD on. If it didn't have the CD on, I wouldn't have bought it. And that's it, yes. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Forgive the production values. I'm going to buy a microphone at some point. It's not going to be the world's greatest microphone because frankly I'm not that bothered. And I will see you again. Thanks very much. Bye.